Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You already know what time it is. Whoo! We're going to be talking to you about Celibacy and Games of Thrones. What?
Little Black Book. You know what time it is. 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 Time it is.
Yes, man. Now, I've never actually watched Game of Thrones. But if it's anything like Spartacus, anything like Power, anything like those shows, my friend, it's going to be a tough one. Now, I've always said this about ending up in the wrong place. Like, when it comes to sexual sin, yeah, it doesn't start at day 100. It starts at day 1. How did you get to day 100? There was many steps in between that point. I've never watched Game of Thrones, but whenever I speak to someone about Game of Thrones, they do mention about the sexual scenes. Now, it's not really Game of Thrones per se. It's any show where you feel you're not ready to watch. If you know this is going to send you over the edge, you need not watch it. You have to understand your eyes are gateways and they collect information, right? And so as you're taking it in, yeah, you're feeding yourself, because whatever you hear becomes your belief or your faith, and we walk by faith and not by sight. So therefore, whatever you hear and you're hearing is becoming part of your faith and how you walk. So the reason why you're walking askew right now and you're finding yourself in certain places, if you're watching shows like Game of Thrones, it's not just Game of Thrones, there are other shows, then you're going to find yourself problems. Game of Thrones, I encompass Game of Thrones with things like your Twitter feed. Now, I don't know if I made it in my other video. I said, it was like maybe like 2 weeks ago, I kept on coming on my TL, yeah, and then scrolling past videos, and I'll be seeing either porn, I'll be seeing a very illicit picture, and I was not scrolling past quick enough. So I will scroll and I'll like look, and then I'll see the photo, and it's not obvious that it's something nasty, and I'll click it, and I'll see it, and I would hold on to watching it for 1-2 seconds too long, and I'll be like, oh my god, what am I doing? I've catch myself, you understand? But as I've caught myself, the information has already touched me because I've consented. The moment I stayed on and watched, for instance, if a girl goes past with a big back and I look at it and I go, damn, man, I'm considering. At that considering, my heart's already saying things I don't even know what it's saying. Do you know what I'm saying? If I saw a big back go past and I go, oh, it's a big back, it's natural, I've seen it and moved on. Do you know what I'm saying? But when you clock it and you calculate and then you analyze, you got a problem. And that's what happens when you're watching Game of Thrones, because you're actually sitting there watching, clocking, analysing, and you're taking the information in, and what happens is this information sits on your subconsciousness, and when it sits on your subconscious, it waits for the right time to begin to feed and drip in those juices of information into your consciousness. Then you find yourself feeling very aroused at different times. I'm just being real to you. Me per se, yeah. Like, for instance, when I was watching Spartacus years ago, Spartacus had these scenes here where the men and the women are just doing things, cause it's like semi-porn blood. Yeah, it's basically semi-porn. You're seeing naked breast, everything like that. You know, man are doing, do you know what I'm saying? In the thing, and you know, so at the time, sometimes I feel an arousal. Let's be real, like I feel an arousal because it's something sexual at the time, but it cools down and I move past it. But it's what happens after. Do you know what I'm saying? Because what you take in, you'll become. You know what I'm saying? So if you're watching a lot of sexual stuff, yeah, what happens is your nature becomes sexual. In fact, the way you perceive people becomes sexual. I remember when I quit Raven, yeah, and I went back to the club for one time. And when I came at the club, yeah, I just saw every girl as just a sexual object again. And I realized, wow, God was opening my eyes to show me, I've delivered you from that. Don't go back to it. You see, what you feed yourself with, the music that you feed yourself with on a 24/7 basis, yeah, it begins to conduct your actions and your lifestyles. Because out of the heart flows. But what's gone into your heart, you don't know. What's gone into your heart that's now proceeded into an action out of you. So whatever you're taking in, things shows like Game of Thrones, Power, Spartacus, and other shows which have got sexual natures in, or sexual explicit scenes in. These scenes, look, even when you skip it, it's got a problem because the whole show's got a tone. Do you understand? The whole show's got a tone. So even if you skip it, you've got a problem. So if you're trying to complete the celibacy thing, I would advise, listen, maybe it's not the best type of shows to be watching, because actually what you're, the Bible says, do not awaken young lust before it's time. When you watch these shows, they are stirring your lust in you, okay? To be used at the wrong time. How can I prove that? Well, in the same thing with someone who's a Christian. your spirit, yeah, when you read the Bible, when you pray, when you worship, doesn't your spirit get stirred up to want to invest more time in God? When you hear a sermon and the sermon's kicking you, it's touching you, don't your spirit get stirred up and you get excited about God? Yeah? When you hear worship and it touches you, we bow down and worship Yahweh. See, when you hear that song, what happens? Your spirit begins to stir. You understand? So the same way that if you listen to things which are, and watch things which are stirring your flesh, the flesh will get strength. You know what I'm saying? The Bible says the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. The spirit wants to do what God wants it to do. But the flesh is weak, and therefore it falters. So if you're feeding the flesh, it is not going to be weak. So things like Game of Thrones, I repeat again, maybe are not the best choice for you. Maybe scrolling on that TL, and maybe real with you, you need to scroll past that porn. Scroll past that illicit picture of a girl with a big back. Scroll past the twerking video. Scroll past the girl that's holding her breast like this and doing naked photo and thing. Scroll past all those things. Yeah, I've seen all those things on TL. I've seen those things on Facebook. I've seen them all, so I know these things go on. Don't look at your Insta feed. Your Insta feed, yeah, when you click on the discovery, it just takes you to places you don't want to be in. Your friends are liking photos which are not going to be conducive to your celibacy. You understand? Deep it. And for me, I know 100% that, what I feed myself with churns itself out as an action. So I know that when I listened to things like Afrobeats for too long, right, yeah, my nature becomes sexual because the undertones of Afrobeats, there was a sexual tone in there. There's a lot of it in Afrobeats. We just don't do it obviously. It's a bit like 90s R&B. You don't hear it first time when you listen to 90s R&B. You think to yourself, what is this? It's just deep, it's nice, it's sultry, you know what I'm saying? And if I ever fall in love again, then I'll make sure that the lady is a friend. But then you skip it to the next one, it's like, knocking boots, knocking boots, knocking boots. You know what I'm saying? So then you start hearing this music, and what happens? Then you begin to churn on that information. And so you come out with an action that you don't want. Your celibacy is affected. So for me, guys, I would say look at that. Be careful what information you're taking in, and just be careful what you're listening to and watching. Is it okay to read books like 50 Shades of Grey? Words paint a picture. So you reading that book is going to cause turmoil. Trust me. You reading that book will cause turmoil. I used to write a book. I used to write my book, a novel. I started writing it, and the original piece, yeah, had scenes where I wrote the sexual graphic part of what was happening. I really detailed it in terms of what was going on. I explained every action that was happening. And I remember when I got stayed, I was like, I can't really use that. That's not gonna work. That's gonna incite somebody to want to have sex. Maybe that's something for a marriage bed, but that's gonna incite someone to have sex. And I don't want that. I don't want someone to be thinking as they read my book, then I'll get aroused by reading my book. It's not necessary. You see what I'm saying? So if it's causing you an arousal, probably best to leave it. Yeah? I appreciate you. Listen, guys, you already know what time it is. Like, share, subscribe. We're in the 14th month of celibacy. It's kind of mad. Appreciate you guys. And like I said, if you guys are in your first and your third, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, your 10th, your 12th month, 1 year, 10 year, whatever, well done. Let's start today. Let's continue to move forward. Let's keep praying. Let's keep worshiping God. Let's keep moving forward in our celibacy. Alright? Guys, love and appreciate you. Stay blessed. Peace.